Hello and a very, very warm welcome to my YouTube this evening. My name's Chris and this evening's film is about the Avro Lancaster, an extraordinary aircraft that flew during the Second World War. Now we're going to also hear a short interview from a Warrant Officer Joe Williams, who completed 20 missions on Lancasters and sadly was shot down in 1945 and bailed out. And one of the reasons is that the forward escape hatch was noted to be only 22 inches wide, and this caused some problems for the larger crew with their full equipment on to get out.
The escape hatch in the Lancaster is 22 inches wide. It's not very wide, and when you've got your bulky flying suit, and you never have any training because you don't need anything. You see, that way is death and that way is life, and you don't hesitate, you know. So I bent my knees slightly, put my head down and went head first out, and you fall, you tumble over a time or two, and then you pull the D-ring and a big jerk, and suddenly it's all quiet, and the great feeling of relief that surprise that you're alive, you know, that something which everyone dreaded and saw happen so many times in the night sky had happened, and we'd survived, you know. It was wonderful.
But also I'm taking a look firstly here at RAF Hemwell. Now RAF Hemwell had to close in 1943 for a short time to enable concrete runways to be laid, and so to bring the airfield up to a Class A standard. Hemwell was reopened in January 1944, and number 1 Lancaster Finishing School used the base until the arrival of numbers 150 and 170 Lancaster Squadrons in November 1944, and then RAF Hemwell resumed operations against the enemy. The last hostile operation from RAF Hemwell was on the 25th of April 1945, and the target being the SS barracks at Berchtesgaden, and from the 29th of April final war operations were of a more humane nature when number 150 and number 170 squadrons took part in Operation Manna, dropping food to the starving Dutch. Well, we're taking a look at wartime RAF Hemwell in this very interesting colour footage. RAF Hemwell was immortalised on film when it was used as a substitute for RAF Scampton in all the ground-based filming of the 1954 war film The Dam Busters. Now we're just going to hear an interview with Stan Instone, who was on a mission in his Lancaster with a full crew, full bomb load, on the way to a bombing mission in Dortmund when they were, very sadly, they were shot down, and he tells the experience of bailing out and what happened thereafter.
So Stan, you were actually shot down on a mission over Germany. Tell me about the moment you were shot down.
We were approaching Dortmund, which was the target for that particular evening. We still had a full bomb load, which would consist of a 4,000-pounder and 12 canisters of incendiaries. But we were suddenly hit by 2 bursts of cannon fire from an upward firing fighter. The skipper gave the order to abandon aircraft, but at that point the rear gunner called out saying he couldn't open his doors of his turret. So I went back to see if I could help him, but he'd already turned the turret round through 90 degrees, and seemingly the flames from the wing tank melted the ice on the doors. He was able to open the doors, and he went out backwards, but unfortunately his foot caught, and he was being dragged behind the aircraft with flames just sort of licking round his face. But he managed to roll over, left 1 boot behind, and made an orderly descent after that. With that, I went back up to the pilot to see if we could. The rest of the crew had bailed out then, so there was only the pilot and myself in the aircraft. And as I was about to go out the aircraft, it blew up. Well, I presume it blew up because I knew nothing at all until I was falling, and I must have fallen at least 10,000 feet before I realised that I better open my parachute, and almost immediately I landed in a tree and was captured.
I'm just looking at a few facts that I've been looking up on the Avro Lancaster. There were 7,377 Lancasters that were built by 6 major companies at 10 factories on 2 continents. The Lancaster was a primary night bomber but also performed other roles including daylight precision bombing, long-range anti-submarine patrol, photo reconnaissance and aerial mapping. The payload of a Lancaster, it could carry a bomb load of up to 14,000 pounds of multiple bombs or a single 22,000 pound Grand Slam bomb, which was the heaviest bomb dropped by any Air Force during the war. It's interesting to note that the standard rear turret armament was 4.303 Browning machine guns, which were often considered not heavy and hard in hitting enough to be a really successful defence against the German aircraft attacking them. So it was decided to fit a .50 caliber machine gun to the rear turret, and these were twin 50 caliber machine guns which had a much heavier hitting capacity. It took a long time to make this transition, and really by the end of the Second World War only 180 Lancasters have been fitted with these turrets. And it's also interesting to look at the work that went on, and in peacetime it would have taken 5 days to change a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine on a Lancaster, but during wartime they were so quick they were changing these engines in 5 hours. Quite extraordinary. The Dambusters film starred Michael Redgrave and Richard Todd, and it was directed by Michael Anderson, and the film recreates the true story of Operation Chastise when in 1943 the RAF's 617 Squadron attacked the Mona, Ada and Sorpe dams in Germany with the Barnes-Wallis bouncing bomb. As we continue our look at the Avro Lancaster, we're going to now take a listen to some of the audio on the radio that was going on with the crew in their Avro Lancaster while they were on a mission over Germany.
Okay, bomb's gone. Okay. Was that bomb's gone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bomb not closed.
Well, I can read my watch in the searchlight. That's 21:54.
Flag coming down for close.
Heading
telling me.
100.
21:54. And go to the slot as best we can.
Okay. Speed's the answer now.
The idea is to steer about 020.
Put 020 on, no? 020, okay.
Flank directly beneath us.
Right.
And searchlights underneath us too.
Come on, keep it, Tommy, get tracking.
Watch your height.
I'm watching everything.
Okay.
How many searchlights would you call them?
Too many, I reckon.
Couple of thousand. Yeah, they're searching for us. You bastards. Oh, hell. Certainly illuminates things, doesn't it? Sure does. Still the pint. Keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah.
They're firing at us now.
Are they?
Yeah. Okay. Flag closed.
Well, it's coming close. I can feel it.
Yes, I can see it. Round to port of it, heading, skipper. Okay. If we press on a bit this way, we might get out. Yeah.
My God.
You light your fag on any of those.
Well,
That was a bit close.
I think we've been hit personally.
Yeah, lose a bit of height.
Yeah.
That was close.
Yes.
Searchlight looking for us down.
Okay, I'm pressing on more or less on course.
Righty-ho. It's gone out now.
Well, we'd better press on north until we're clear of this issue. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Hello, Skipper. Hello? We've been holding the front here. Okay. The oil's leaking out of the front turret, so there's nothing to worry about. Okay. Okay, boy. Donkey, could you glance over the temperatures on the engines? Could I what? Glance over the temperatures. Look, Donkey, I've been weaving on your course. I shall be heading a little to the east. Okay, I'll give you a course to steer if you reckon you'll go through it. Yeah, it's... Okay, right. Only there's a few searchlights ahead, about 100. Yeah. Boy, God, I've never seen anything like this before. Neither have I. 4,000 pounds have just gone up. And good show. That's not bad at all. Yes, it's not a bad prank. Well, there's a target straight ahead, Skip. Okay, now we're over the lake now. Okay, just running up. Okay. What was the heading again? 146. Okay, on 146. Okay. And the airspeed? 170. Yes, height 40. Okay. 10 seconds. 2 minutes, 10 seconds. Follow that. Okay.
As we leave the Lancaster crew on their bombing mission, we're just going to take a look at the volume of acreage that was taken over in Lincolnshire. By the end of the Second World War, the Air Ministry had requisitioned 30,000 acres of land. There were 29 bomber bases in Lincolnshire. RAF Wickenby was farmed by a Mr. Bowser, and we're going to hear an interview that he gave describing how the Air Ministry arrived to requisition his land. I think you'll find it very interesting.
The first thing I knew, there was a gentleman came to the door and asked, would you take me a tour on your top land on the farm? So I said, oh yes. I said, and what's your requirements? So he says, well, we're thinking of an airfield here. I said, thank you very much. And so I said, what about the crops? Oh, he said, take the notice of those. He says, we can't bother about crops. Anyhow, these surveyors came in the morning and they said, oh, well, we shall be here in a few days' time. But at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a bulldozer got there, he'd gone through one of my hedges, let all my cattle out, and came home. And that was the first thing I knew about the airfield.
A total of 721 Lancs were based in Lincolnshire by the end of the war. Every one of those planes stood in the shadow of 5 others destroyed by enemy action. And the 5,500 air crew represented only the glamorous tip of the RAF iceberg. 10 times as many RAF uniforms were to be seen around the quiet lanes and isolated country pubs, or sculling around Lincoln. Fitters, airframe mechanics, armourers, signals, planning, Met, intelligence. And for Curry, the new boy, Wickenby was a place to tread carefully. His new air gunner, Lanham, had Australian manners when it came to arguments. He expected to win them. There was a term in the RAF, lack of moral fibre, covering all forms of despair, defeatism and cowardice. Inevitably it existed. Lanham already had enough operational hours to recognise it, and saw the vital need to make Jack do the same. In that first week, when they met a flight sergeant out on the perimeter track, who told them they couldn't last a week of ops, Lanham quickly jumped in, without sparing the feelings of his new skipper. To Jack's embarrassment, there was no small talk, no forgiveness. The Australian brutally crushed the defeatist. He marked his new pilot's card for him. No LMF, no whinging, no pity. Survival at all costs.
The aircraft lifts the cookie with its own winches. It's a tight fit. The smaller bombs follow. Even the slight incline of the dispersal makes the armourer's task harder. The 500-pound bombs are fitted in pairs to carriers which contain the electrical release mechanism. These are conversions, originally designed for single 1,000-pound bombs which the RAF no longer use. Consequently, the carriers can cause the armourers problems. As the bombs are winched up, care has to be taken that they do not foul the aircraft structure. An unofficial aid is the aircraft's crew ladder. Bombing up is not only hard physical work, it is also dangerous. Due to electrical and mechanical faults, bombs can and have fallen, injuring the armourers. On the 15th of March 1943, a 4,000-pound cookie exploded during loading at Scampton. Several men were killed, 6 Lancasters were totally destroyed, and another 5 badly damaged. Just a fraction of the 2,700,000 tons of high explosive dropped on German targets during World War II.
Avro Lancasters. There was an average of a 7-man crew, and the average age was 22 years old. Lancasters flew more than 150,000 missions, but more than 3,000 planes never returned. Some people will criticise me for saying planes, but I'll refer to aircraft then. Post-war, the Lancaster was used as a passenger and postal delivery airliner and for air-sea rescue. There were 15 variants of the Lancaster, including the B, B1, B2, B3, B4, the B7 and the B10. There are only 2 Avro Lancasters remaining airworthy in the whole world at the moment. I really hope you found this short film and this brief look at the Avro Lancaster interesting. It was really interesting for me to put together, and I really hope you join me on the next film. Have a think about subscribing, would be really very much appreciated. I wish you all the very best. Take the greatest of care. Cheers for now.